Well, hello again out there in TV land. I'm so excited to be in your home yet once again. You know, I'm always so grateful that you choose to be on this day on a Thursday afternoon, sitting down and just watching what's going on in our community, learning from the people that are doing great things, and we're so grateful to you. Thank you for the opportunity. I cannot thank you enough for your support. Continue to pour into us what you think about the show. We love to hear what you have to say because you are important. Today I bring to you again yet another set of wonderful people. We talk to you about what it means to be leaders and pastors during this unforeseen time of the pandemic. I'm not going to say last. I'm not going to say I saved the best for last, but this is the best because today I have the opportunity to look in front of my woman and man of God, the people that lead me, that choose to lead me through love and through understanding and through everything. So to some of you, I just want you to know this is a special interview because this is these are my parents in the gospel, none other than the Bishop Nolan Tolbert and his wonderful elect wife, Miss Gail, Diane. I love you all so much and we're so grateful to have you today. Welcome, Bishop, welcome. How exciting it is to be here with you today.
Well, God bless you. First of all, I want to say thank you. I am both honored and humbled that you thought enough for somebody like us to bring us on this show. But we're grateful. We're excited in the midst of everything that's going on. We are excited.
What about you, sweetheart? She gives me a hard time, so she's trying to be nice to me today. But what about you? How humbled and honored I am to be sitting by you because you've been in my life for a long time, and I'm just grateful because I know you got so much to bring to the table. So I thank you too. Lady.
I mean, thank you so much for having her. And you know I love you. I might give you a hard time, but I love you.
In a good way, son, in a good way.
And it's a blessing just to be sitting here with you, and we thank God for it.
Well, I appreciate it. And as I alluded to when we first came on, and we have this conversation, and we've had this conversation, it's been an unforeseen, unpredictable area that we've been going through as a nation, definitely as a people and as a community, and I'm talking about a church community. So I've interviewed a couple other pastors, and we've learned so much about what it's taken to be able to get through this. But what do you see happening, Bishop? What are some of the differences that you've had to overtake during this unforeseen time of what we're calling a pandemic?
Well, I tell you what, we've been challenged. We have to face many challenges.
Yes,
I would say after being in the ministry a little over 30-some years,
wow.
This last year and a half been the most challenging time for pastors as a leader.
Right.
But I tell you, in the midst of all what's been going on, but having good peoples in your path, like you and your family, during the duration, you all never missed a beat. When the church, we couldn't come and just really have church the old way.
Yes, sir.
Your family, y'all was here to support us.
Yeah.
I mean, when the CDC, of course, we want to respect them, but when it wasn't about 8 or 10 people's here, your family, you all was here to support. But I tell you what, it been very challenging. But then we look at it one hand, God is God.
Right.
I mean, it's exposed the hearts of people. And I'm grateful for, God put people in your path. You and your family, got some more family, you all have always supported. And I think that's what, as a pastor and elect lady, she can echo of the same thing. That's what made our job in the midst of the most challenging time of our life.
Right.
To have people just like you and your family.
And I echoed that. And Lady Diane, that brings me to this point when he keeps emphasizing the most challenging times and we're family, so we've experienced a lot of things. And before we start taping, you and I were just talking about some of the things that you went through, the loss of your mom, the loss of your sister, and the loss of your brother, and then to be hit with this. How, as a woman of God, what are some of the things that you witnessed and then still have to hold your own with your family, still have to be the person that I saw you be before this? What was some of the support that you knew that made a difference with your husband that some of us was able to give that he's talking about?
Well, just having people that have your back.
Yeah.
And even though, like you were saying, I lost a lot of loved ones, and it's been very challenging. But just having supportive people like you, your family, and so many others, I mean, it made the difference. I mean, it let us know that we could hold on and we could hang on in here. And even though it was a lot of tests and a lot of try, but with God, we made it.
Yes.
And we're still making it. Even during the pandemic, we are still making it.
I was laughing with Bishop off camera a minute ago, and we both do believe that sometimes the community or people put preachers in a box. That you all went through the same pandemic as we did. You suffered some of the same loss that we did.
Yes.
But like Bishop and I was laughing in the back, you couldn't just check the box and say, I'm not coming today. We get that option to wake up and say, you know what, I don't feel safe. I'm not going to church. And we do, and let's emphasize this because you say it, and I want to echo what you say in your pulpit. You do understand that people have issues that cannot come in a building, and they have real legitimate reasons of why they're not fellowshipping or not supporting. And you echo that all the time. So I want to make sure I put that in there. We do understand that. However, the Bible tells us that do not forsake yourself from the assembly, not just so you can see everybody, so we can lean on each other, so we can have each other to depend on. So as a man of God, you couldn't check the box when you watched your wife lose loved ones or when you watch people turn against you. And I can speak from that you never said anything about it. We watch it happen because we've been here for years. How do you continue to go on knowing that people have just turned from you, turned their back on you, and mistreated you? How as a pastor?
Well, number one, the love of God.
Right.
And then two, when you realize that in my situation, I know I wasn't called. I say anytime, if the Lord was to come down now, I would give it up to somebody else. It's nothing but then, that's that natural side.
Right.
But there's a lot of time I do, and honestly, I'm a pastor, you said in a box. I feel like breaking out the box, fighting, body slamming. Yeah, body slamming people. But that's that fleshly side of me. But whereas, when others, like I said, have a choice or option, we can't do that. God have put us in a place in, we got to be able to minister to God's people.
Right.
Yeah, it's hurting. It's, but when I would start thinking about it, I think of something you say, get over it. And I hear voices, sometimes you have to get over it. But even in the midst of it all, Dr. Bell, God has it in a place. For about a year, I was teaching before the pandemic came in on that rest that yet remained for the people of God. In the midst of all this crazy stuff that's going on, I know, God is with us.
Right.
When I never, until it was in the midst of this pandemic, I never felt, how can a pastor really just give it up and walk away from the pulpit?
Right.
It was during this pandemic when the revelation came. But that's that fleshly side. We all have that fleshly side. But then we got to look at it, we got to give an account to God. We want to be able to hear his voice say, well done.
Right.
You can go out of the way. You look at members. We have buried our brothers, their sister, their mom, their grandmama. They ain't nowhere to be around.
Right.
We human. As we said, we were diagnosed with the COVID.
Yes, sir.
We didn't miss a beat.
Sure did not.
We still praying for people. And the thought came, here you praying even prior that God protect others. Then all of a sudden, it hit us.
Right.
And the question said, what are you going to do?
Right.
But my mind had to go to the Word of God, and we had to, because he had us in a place for that rest.
Right.
But then you look at, I hadn't heard from some members over a year and a half.
Right.
And of course, they're not tired and all of that either.
So
it's not about that, but they traveling, they're going on vacation, they're doing all of these other things. They don't feel safe. And I know all of the guidelines that we have, right. CDC guidelines. We have a professional company that come in weekly.
Yes, sir.
And he said that you all of all the churches and business, he said you all do more than any of the others. But yet and still, they can go visit other churches. They can go on vacation. And, I'm about a person of balance. Enjoy vacation. Enjoy it. I wish I was in the Bahamas right now. I really do, So enjoy life. But you have to realize that God called you. And at the end of the day, we want to be able to hear his voice say, well done.
It's two things you said I'm gonna allude to, and you're absolutely right. We got to remember that God is God no matter what we go through. You said something very important. You caught COVID. You praying for people to be covered. You praying for people to be healed, and here you are, hit with something that you're praying for others. And some of the people that didn't come to church never caught it.
Exactly.
Some people that didn't never come to church.
That's the point. That was a challenge.
You covered the people, and here God says He allowed you, and because it isn't a lot, God doesn't let anything slip us on us. And so my hat's off to you. And so Lady Diane, that brings me to this. You're a mother. I'm a mother. And we often go to each other and talk about things as a mother. It all fine and dandy for y'all to say how God called you to pastor and you got to continue to love the people that you buried their dog and their auntie cousin. But your children, what are how does it make you feel? Because I know we're a pastor and all that and we're preachers, but our children sometimes brings us to specific pain. They point out some things. Dad, I saw this. Dad, I heard that. Dad, I know they said this. Lady Diane, as a mother, and then I'm going to ask you as a father of all, how do you handle that and bring them back where they need to be, knowing you want to body slam some of them? How do you handle that?
Well, at times it can be challenging, and believe me, I've heard it so many times, especially from my daughter.
Right.
Mama, why do you keep doing this? Don't you know this? I mean, because they see a lot of things they hurt. And but I still have to show the love of God. I still have to tell her, we just pray about situation, we do this, but it's going to be all right. I have to keep her in line because, we all got the answer to God.
Right.
And basically, they hear it.
Right.
I mean, coming through the years, I've been saved ever since 1975.
Yeah, we said I 1975. I always tell you, I ain't been saved since 75. So,
but of course, I hadn't already been pastoring, but through the years, I've seen a lot of things,
right.
and especially your children, they hear and they love us, and they know, they have our best interest at heart. But I just have to continue to just encourage her,
right.
encourage my son.
Right.
My son not gonna say
too much.
No, not too much, but my daughter will. But anyway, I just have to continue to encourage them and continue for them to show the love of God because when it's all done, we want them to make it in.
Right.
Right. So I just continue to just talk with her, talk with them, encourage them, and let us know that we're not perfect. People
right.
have flaws, and we're gonna make it. You have to always encourage them.
Right.
Because it hurt them.
Right. So if you had to use one word, Bishop, and this may take you a second to think about, that describes some pain that your children have brought to you about you. And you may want to say it in a couple words, but go back to some of the times, and let's talk about during this pandemic or even as y'all go through, and I know y'all have had some conversations with your kids.
Yes.
Because this has been a trying time. If you can sum up how they actually felt, they're not the pastors. So, how would you put that in words?
Well, for my daughter, like my wife said, the older people used to say they lay their religion down. My daughter is saved and the Holy Ghost filled, but sometimes she feel like telling the Lord, Lord, I'll be right back. I mean, just give me a few seconds, Lord, I'll be right back. But I look to, as my wife say, we have to tell them because we're not going to badmouth people. And then number one, the enemy know if he can't get to us, he'll get to those, our children, those that we love best.
Right.
But it makes them. And my daughter say a lot of times, she said, Dad, I know you saved. Because some of the things, they talks and they hear about the ministry, and sometimes they hear about other leaders, and they putting all the leaders in the same pot and all of this. Are they saying this? Are they saying that? And they think people using it, but at the end of the day, I just want to be able to hear God say, well done. I know it hurts. It hurts them, but it's building them up. It causes them to go to another level. And basically, Dad, because the way you and Mom my daughter said not long ago, said, I ain't got there yet, but I can understand. I believe I'm going to get there one day. Yeah, one day. And, but yeah, she be ready. And like I said, my son too, it take a lot to push him, but actually that can be a more dangerous, because he hold a lot, he can explore.
That's right.
And because he love it, and I thank God for them. And then too, we have always had to deal with the kids are jealousy. They think, oh, they took Tootie Good shoes and Mr. and Mrs. Good shoes.
Pastor's
And
kids.
yeah, the pastor. My daughter, I remember even when she was younger, she would come in and they used to call her the little rich girl.
Right.
I mean, the little rich girl, they would pick on her and different things of that nature. But I always say, it'll make you bitter or make you better.
Correct.
But we make a decision for just make us better.
Yep.
I mean, in the midst of your hurt. Because I'm telling you, I don't care how saved a person may be, we got that natural side. And I know the Bible speaks about casting out demons, but sometimes the Lord may take 1 second too long. I can help him out. I mean, I do it in the name of the Lord. But that's that natural side.
Let me let's bring something out. And I first say I am not a licensed therapist, and neither do they. Don't pretend to be one. But we're going to talk about some depression and some mental health things in this pandemic that you all have seen as pastors. Some things, conversations that have arose from people that you're ministering to, how their spirits have changed and how they feel about certain things. I know as an educator and as a woman of God, I'm hearing more and more and more that the pandemic is causing even the strongest people to speak on or talk about mental illness and depression. How do you see as a pastor, or as a elect later, I'll let either one of you answer this, or both, that is impacting people in their mental state?
Well, I want to say this. Now, for a long, especially, and I'm just going to say what I say.
Right.
For the longest, we as a black people
That's good.
did not want to admit there is sometimes mental issue, mental health issue that we have to deal with. I mean, whereas other, races, they'll deal with it for years. But we have to put on this facade. We so holier than thou.
Right.
But it have been heard. I have talked to pastors.
Right.
Challenging. Some pastors is going through counseling right now that their members don't even know anything about it. We praying mighty for them because it goes back to what you said a minute ago. We have allowed people to put us in a box.
Correct.
But it's hurting. I think whether it's in the workplace, the church place, in government, politics, or whatever the situation, dealing with mental issues, it's real.
Right.
And I say all the time, we can from a spiritual point of view, but I encourage people, if you're dealing with situations, because number one, the pandemic is something that we never dealt with.
And it's isolating people.
It's isolated. It's nothing wrong with a person have to go get professional help.
Right.
For the longest, you did not hear that from church world.
That's right.
For the longest, that would not even come from me, myself, and I, because I was brought up, you to be holier than I. You bind that, you can get through binding and loosing, but then what are you going to do 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning?
When you need, right.
Yeah, what are you going to do when somebody call you and tell her they're thinking about committing suicide?
Right.
I mean, when leaders walking out of the pulpit, they can't take it. Husband and wife divorcing one another.
Right.
Mental health issues, they for real.
Right.
So we have to learn to deal with it. We can encourage them, but the same token, during this particular time, we have had to pray with a lot of leaders during this time.
Yep.
But then at the end of the day, I would come back and say, if you need to get professional help, because we can be, as you say, super saved. We can put it on like that, but be real.
Right.
At the end of the day, I mean, what are you doing? I mean, the pastor breaking down in the pulpit before he come out.
Right.
Get up and preach like nothing and go back.
Right.
My son in the gospel, one of the pastors in another state,
right.
One of his best friend had a nervous breakdown.
Wow.
Dealing with pastor issues, but for so long, he was getting up and dealing and painting pictures just like, hey, as you say, he was sitting in Jesus' lap.
Yeah.
But he would go back home. He had a nervous mental breakdown. And so, but it's real. First of all, you got to realize, a lot of people don't want, a lot of church folks,
right,
saved, Holy Ghost filled, don't want to admit
They're having problems.
that they're having problems.
Correct.
A person would never be delivered. They'll never experience true deliverance
That's good.
until they realize that, hey,
I might have
I'm a human.
I might have to get some help.
Yeah, I may have to get some help. You tell God about it.
Right.
I mean, God, nothing that we can go through, our infirmity, that God himself, that Jesus hadn't even been acquainted with.
Right.
So we just got to be real. Quit painting picture. Quit thinking that we, holier than thou. Church people, quit putting your pastor in a box.
Right.
Pastor, quit putting, yourself, allowing yourself.
Yes,
but it's time to
good.
break out and be
Yes,
real.
that's good.
I mean, be real.
Be free.
I tell you this, I'm telling you, talking about freedom. I've been teaching on grace, but even in the midst of this pandemic, there have been
Talk
such of
about
a
it.
rest.
Yeah.
Talk about
There
it.
have been such of a peace, because I sit back, I let God be God, and just let him do what he do best.
Wow.
But it's been very challenging. But hey, I choose to keep my eyes on that prize.
Oh, I love that you brought out that leaders are experiencing things. Lady Diane, as a woman, and you not only as a first lady, but we can't even put everything on camera that you do with the community. But one thing I know you do is you go aid and help a lot of the women in the church. You have made yourself accessible to that. So what kind of things are you seeing in the home, or what kind of conversations are you having with saved women about how they feel? They could be lonely, especially if they're not married. We're isolated. That's the biggest word during this pandemic, is
Right.
isolation. So what are some of your things you've experienced with the people of God that have felt isolated during this time?
I mean, it has been really something. Someone had really felt alone.
Right.
I have even talked to some that even felt like giving it all up.
Right.
I mean, some of them having challenging in marriage,
Right.
the children,
Right.
and some are just really feeling depressed.
Right.
That's a thing that sometimes we don't want to admit as Holy Ghost filled people that really get depressed.
Right.
But I face a lot of things, but you just have to be there for them and try to just help them through it. I mean, some really have felt like giving up, and it was just like, wow,
Right. It shocks you.
right? It
Right.
really. But I thank God, that but we as leaders just have to continue to trust God.
Right. This is amazing that you're saying
Yes.
this, because this is what I really want the people to understand. The pandemic brings on depression. It brings on mental issues. It brings on death. It brings on financial
Right.
distress. And we call you. We say, okay, I'm going through all this. Forget that they may have these feelings. Forget that you got to deal with people that have to deal with your children that are feeling hurt and isolated from people in the church that have wronged you. And you have to go and minister and uplift some of these people who have hurt your children. And so what the community and the world needs to understand, take me out of a box. I think that's what Bishop is saying. We all need to take ourselves out of boxes. Now, I do believe there's a certain part of way that a leader needs to present themselves. God knows I've been through some challenging times, and we want to Facebook them. However, what I've learned from watching you, and I can honestly say that you guys don't let your feelings just overtake everything. You continue to be who you are. We talked about depression. We talked about people leaving you. We talked about how you have to still get up. And I can see your emotions. Bishop, there's one thing about you. You're a very strong guy, but see, the camera can't see. I can see when you're talking about this, how it makes you feel, because I can see it in your eyes. It's almost like you're bracing yourself to say, this is hurtful. I can see. The camera may not see it, but we can see it. I can tell. I can feel you, because I know your energy, both of you. And it is difficult when people you love the most, been there for the most, throw you to the side. And you can't just turn it in. That's what I wanted that's why I wanted to speak to pastors. My pastor is still here. I'm very blessed that my first lady is still here. I always call you elect lady, because first means second, so I always say you the elect. But that you're still here and you're still good. So before we wrap this up, I want you to tell everybody, Bishop, why I know why I come to True Deliverance. I come because of the foundation of discipline. And do not take discipline as a word for punishment. It means training. I'm here because I needed the training that you possessed. So why are people at home, sitting at home, why should they go to your Facebook page and watch your service on Sunday? What are you offering the people that they need?
Number one, balance.
There you go.
I think balance, enjoy life. For the longest, the church world per se, especially when the one that said they are saved, their whole life was just church, church, church. I believe in balance. It's a time for church. It's a time for family. It's a time for faith. I stand on the old principle, read a book probably over 20 some years ago by T.D. Jakes, Faith, Family, and Finance.
Right.
The 3 F's. So we have to stand on that, but it's so important that we stand on the Word of God.
Right.
And we try to preach that. We try to model that to enjoy life. Because if your whole life is just church is not balanced. If your whole life you're leaving the church out, it's not balanced.
Right.
And if your whole life is just geared toward finances. So it takes all of those to bring balance. And in my messages I try to preach, I try to encourage whether a person is 18, whether they 8 or whether they 38, as our church mother 98, enjoy life while you can. And to bring balance. I mean, because life is not, the next day is not promised.
That's correct.
But enjoy life, be a kingdom representative, and that other people can see that walk. That you walk the walk and talk the talk.
Well, I love
But at the end of the day, I want to hear God to say, well done, thy good and faithful servant.
Well, you heard it here. You better get some balance. As always, I am so grateful, though. I am so grateful for you guys. Guys, if you're out there and you're going through something, if you're struggling, please, 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 our church is 936 North Donahue Drive in Auburn, Alabama. But then we are on Facebook, True Deliverance. Every Sunday at 11 o'clock, 9 o'clock, we have Sunday, we call it Sunday Encouragement, Sunday School. But please find somebody to get connected to. I thank God for the spiritual connection because I'm in a good place. Again, we appreciate you. If you need help, don't feel shame to reach out to someone and say, help me, because mental illness and depression is real. And we are in a pandemic, but God is here with us. Again, thanks for watching. If you have a story, remember, go to our Facebook page, FNF Ministry, well, our Facebook page, but also go to our website, fnfministries.org, and tell us your story. Click on Choose to Win. You know what I say. If there's a decision to make sure it's your choice to win. Thank you, and until next time.
Multiple fractures, what we refer to as segmental fractures, could have led to a brain amputation.